Summer 2012, my husband, myself, and our 3 boys went to North Carolina for the summer. My husband was starting a new business with his cousin-in-law and wanted us to travel with him. We stayed in a room with my husband's cousin and her family. We didn't have a lot of room, or a real bed for that matter. We slept on a large air mattress. My 2 older boys were bouncing off the walls as usual. We were waiting for her to come back home so we can go out. After cleaning up the room and getting the boys dressed, I put on the movie that would calm them down, my secret weapon. After putting on the movie, I went back to the bedroom to find my 2 oldest boys jumping on the air mattress. "Stop jumping on the bed before one of you hurt yourselves," I warned. I turned around and walked out the room with my baby son in hand. I just knew they were going to follow me because I gave them a good scolding. I just knew they would listen and follow my directions. Just as I left the room, I heard my middle son, who was a month shy of turning 2, split the side of his lip in 2. It was unlike anything I had ever seen before. There was blood everywhere. I was able to slow down the bleeding with cold water and cold compress. Here it was. I was alone with 3 kids in another state, no car, and no clue where to get stitches. I called my husband and I called my cousin, told her it's an emergency, I needed the car ASAP. Then I called around to see where the nearest urgent care was. It was 45 minutes away. When she arrived, I put the 3 boys in the car immediately. We got to urgent care only for them to tell me that they were not able to stitch his lip. The doctor told me to go to the children's hospital a few miles away. When we got there, we waited and waited and waited. That was 3.5 hours with 3 boys, and you would think the injured child would sit still and be calm. No. He was running around the waiting room with his older brother, and I was carrying my 5-month-old son, trying to keep him calm and asleep throughout the madness, all the while making sure my injured son did not touch anything. After those 3.5 hours, we were finally called into a room. You would think my injured son would have learned his lesson. The first thing he did was jump on the hospital bed. I scolded him as though he could comprehend. "Stop jumping on the bed! Haven't you learned your lesson?" About 15 minutes later, the nurses and doctors came in to prep him and drug him up. My little injured one slipped into a trance. He was awake, but he couldn't move. The only thing he could move were his eyes. 4 stitches, and 20 minutes later, it was all done. I didn't know what I was getting myself into when I became a mother. This is only one of the many stories I'll share with my boys when they get older, especially when they have children of their own. They will realize parenting and insanity go hand in hand. Parenting can make you crazy, but I wouldn't change it for the world.